Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, MichICAN! MichICAN Nightly Radio Show. Little bit of music at first. Had a few things I needed to get taken care of. I'm butt-ass tired and I needed to wake up. So, how's everybody doing on this fine Cannabis Pre-Cup Friday night? There ought to be a lot of exciting things going down in Flint. I'm hoping I get a couple people to call in from down that area. I know there's a few people down there. If they're in listening and anybody wants to call in, you want to spread the word, have people call in tonight. Radio show call-in number for guests, 646-668-2239. Push 1 if you want to come on the air, leave it as it is. If you want to just listen in the background, we got 50 slots for people to check in and tune in, join in, and get heard. So last night I don't know, really I know there are people listening. Nobody decided to call in, so please, make use of that line. Let's get this conversation going. I don't want to be the only one flapping my lips. I don't mind. But I know a lot of you had a lot of questions and especially after last night, and I said some kind of interesting things compared to what I've been kind of usually talking about. So, I know there's questions out there. Don't be shy. And we'll keep you anonymous as I can keep you. I'll just call you guest caller. Guest caller 1, guest caller 2, guest caller 20, whatever. But there's a lot of things we need to discuss. I can't be the only one talking, so let's hear it. You guys give us a call. Again, that number is 646-668-2239. Push 1 to come on live on the air. So last night I bring up the topic of, the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, the last, 6 years, the history from which we only is all we have to judge what our future is going to look like with it. And man, it does not look pretty compared to what the last 6 years looked at. And yeah, we've made a few little progresses after the state had yanked a whole crap load away and then gave them back to you. And, oh, you're all so appreciative. Oh, thank you, Lord and Master State. You took away what we gave ourselves and then were so kind to give it back to us. What would we ever do without you? Prosper, have liberty, freedom, security, ability to be self-sustainable. The bigger question is, what could we do without government? Pretty much everything we need to be doing that we can't get done because the government's in the way. All government is new age speak for competition control. So you're going to give government control of recreational legalized pot, and they're going to do competition control. Don't believe me? Look at the alcohol market. I dare any of you guys to go in and try to get into the alcohol market and sell it out of your garage. It ain't going to happen. You need a couple $100,000 just to get a liquor license. Another couple $100,000 just to open up door. Because, well, state-regulated alcohol. State-regulated cigarettes. You think the cannabis market's going to be any different? The state's going to let that go under your, the idea of recreational? We've heard it already. There won't be no free-for-alls here, a.k.a., translation from government to English. We can't have you have control of your own body. We cannot have you thinking you can do whatever you want without our permission. We cannot allow you to be self-sustainable. But they'll sell you self-sustainability, and only government can give it to you. In 1973, my mom and dad bought a brand new, right off the car lot, showroom floor, 73 883 Roadrunner, and that was one badass little ride. For about $3,500 cash. $3,500 in 1973 for, at that time, which is one of the last muscle cars to come out of American automotive. Cudas 74, Pontiacs, or the good ones 74. You got the change in the Firebird. They were all right up until the late 70s. But those 60s, 60s and 70s, early 70 muscle cars, $3,500. Today, that same car would cost you minimum $35,000 to $45,000 without all the amenities. So is the car worth 10 times more than it was in 1973? Here, 40 years later, 2014, 2015, 42 years later. Oh hell no! Hell no, that new car ain't worth $43,000. Or even $33,000, 10 times the price my parents paid for that brand new 883 Roadrunner. So why is it 10 times more expensive today? Well, it ain't because the workers are getting paid more. It's not because everybody's working less work hours and they have to, hire more people. It's not because the unions are taking too much of the job money. Hell, the unions are part of the corporation now. You just think you are part of a union. I hate to tell you but that union is incorporated and is probably owned by the auto manufacturers they work for, because that's who owns the stock. So it's all a setup. It's all a screw job. No, the reason that 1973 Plymouth Roadrunner was only $3,500 because up until 1971, our money was tied to gold and silver. It's not that items have went up. Inflation is a lie. Deflation is the truth. But wait a minute, deflation, well, wouldn't that mean cost of something going down? Yeah, it does. It's not the products, it's the product, the commodity that you use to buy that stuff that's gone down in value. It's deflated. That would be the Federal Reserve note, those Benjis that you got in your pocket. In 1963, a silver quarter made in 1963 was made with 90% pure silver. In 1963, a gallon of gas was approximately 28 cents a gallon, slightly more than that 25-cent quarter made in 1963. So here we are today. Gas is $3 a gallon, $2.50, $3 a gallon. A couple years ago, it was $5 a gallon. But guess what? That same 1963 quarter with 90% silver today will still buy you 1 gallon of gas. How can that be? How could gas be 28 cents a gallon in 1963 and $3 today, and a 1963 90% silver quarter could buy you that same gallon of gas for $3? How does that happen? Because silver has gone up in price. The 90% silver that quarter is made of weighs, a few bucks. Silver right now is about $14, $15 an ounce. Back then it was about 25 cents an ounce. So an ounce of silver was equal to a gallon of gas. Today it's a little bit better. It's only, 12, we'll say $12 an ounce, so a quarter ounce of silver is worth a gallon of gas. But identically, the amount of silver in that quarter is worth about $2.53 if you were to melt the silver out and sell it on the silver commodity market. You get about $3 for a quarter from 1963. So no, our prices of our stuff that we buy, our gas, our food, our cigarettes, our papers, our, in everything. The price of this stuff has not gone up because wages have gone up, because companies are spending more money, or having harder times. That's part of it. No, everything's going up because the cost and the value of the greenback, that nice little Federal Reserve note, has gone down in value. And that's the cold hard truth of why you're paying $70 a month for a phone bill that you should be paying $7 a month for, especially on a cell phone system. It's insane. We're being lied to and robbed from Peter, Paul, and Mary, right from the top to the bottom. And it all starts with money. So what the hell's that got to do with cannabis and Michigan and the Medical Marijuana Act? Well, if you've been following the money markets, and you've been following for the last 5 to 10 years, well, since at least 9/11, September 1st, 2001, if you've been following the money markets and what's been going on since that time, it's getting ugly out there. It's getting very ugly out there. For anybody interested who's not sure what I'm talking about, look up something called BRICS. B.R.I.C.S. That would stand for Brazil, India, or Brazil, Russia, India, China, BRICS. B.R.I.C.S. The BRICS nations. Russia and China have been working for a little bit here, and you've been hearing about a lot of this funkiness on the news with Russia and China and all this other stuff. Well, China's been backing their yuan with gold. Now, this seems kind of funny because it's all kind of intertwined. It seems like it would be separate. This would have nothing to do with cannabis or Michigan or legalization or recreational or repeal. And what does this have to do with our state? In absolutely everything. Because the money in your pocket, that Federal Reserve note, which you have to pay your home mortgage on, which you have to pay your $35,000 car off with, which you've got to pay your $60 monthly phone bill with, that you got to pay your electric bill with, you got to pay your food bill with. It don't matter what you do, you pay with the Federal Reserve note in this country. Now, I know a lot of you younger people may not have heard this when you're growing up and taught this in school, but those people that are probably 40, 45, even a little bit, and older than that, they're probably going to know this and know this is fact. They actually taught us how to balance our checkbooks in the day. They actually taught us how to understand the value of money. They actually taught us that you cannot pay debt with a debt. So I go to Joe Blow down the corner and say, hey, Joe Blow, I'm kind of short this week. I need $100. Joe Blow says, sure, Mr. Locke, I'll give you $100. You need to give me $5 back in interest next week when you pay off that $100. Now I go back next week and I give Joe Blow $105 and I pay my debt. Or did I? Did I even get a debt? Was there any debt to begin with? No, not really, because Joe Blow gave me a $100 bill. He didn't give me $100 in silver. He didn't give me $100 worth of gold. He gave me a Federal Reserve Benjamin. It's all about the Benjis. We all remember that show, that movie. So, Joe Blow gave me a $100 Ben Franklin, Federal Reserve note, which is a debt already to begin with. For that $100 Joe Blow gave me, it cost us, the taxpayers, $17 just to get that $100 bill off the printing press, which means the Federal Reserve prints a bill of $100, charges us $100 for that bill. We borrowed this money from the Federal Reserve with interest, so we pay this $100 bill. We get this $100 bill and then we have to pay back $105. But the problem is, when they give us that $100 bill, they've already charged $17 interest on it. Fees, printing cost. So what that means is we got a $100 bill to pay off $105, but that $100 bill is only worth $83. So in all reality, we can only pay, if we took that $100 bill 2 seconds after Joe Blow gave it to us and we owed him $105 and gave it back to him, we're about $22 short. Because the actual $100 bill, we got to pay the interest for that printing and that being in circulation. So, that's a debt. Joe Blow, Federal Reserve Bank, borrows us $100. They want $105 back, actually $113, truth be known. And then we got to turn around and pay again on it. So how do we get, if we can only pay back $83 of a $105 debt, how do we pay back the other $22? Oh, we get another $100 bill, Federal Reserve note from the Federal Reserve. Now we've got, we owe $105, or when we paid off $83, well, now we got $100. We can pay that other $25 and have $35 or $85, $75 extra. Wrong. It cost us the same money to get that second $100 reserve note than it did the first. So the money in your pocket is debt. How do you pay a debt with a debt? Would you accept? If I come and borrowed $300 from you today and said I'll pay you back tomorrow, and I come back tomorrow and I gave you a piece of paper that said I owe you $315, are you going to accept that now? And you're going to be able to take that IOU and go to the bank and cash it? Not on your life. But you can with the Federal Reserve note. Because with the Federal Reserve note, well, you need more Federal Reserve notes so you can pay off the debt you owe, but that just grows the debt you owe even bigger before long. There is no more debt you can pay off. Every bill you get is pure debt because the money is devalued and there's nothing left. Welcome to the dollars in your pocket, folks. Why does that affect us in Michigan? Why does that affect medical cannabis and recreational cannabis? Because us all have to buy the stuff with the Federal Reserve note. I'll take silver. Hell, I'll take gold shavings if I can prove it's pure gold. I'll accept silver. I have no problem with silver. I like silver. Silver's a good friend of mine. You can have all your Federal Reserve fiat dollars you want. When push comes to shove and that puppy dies because the BRICS nation becomes the world reserve currency, which if you think I'm crazy, John Kerry, that is Secretary of State, United States Secretary of State, John Kerry, just made a report that the U.S. Federal Reserve dollars, aka U.S. currency, may lose its Federal Reserve status in as little as 2 years. And I wouldn't be shocked if it was as soon as 2 or 3 months, if not even a little sooner. We're being set up. We've been being set up for over 150 years. Since before the Civil War, we were being set up. That's what the Civil War is about, to make us fight each other so we would kill each other and weaken ourselves so the government could do what they did while we were too busy being pissed at each other. This is how the government works. And this is how they've always worked. Government has always been the creator of terror. They have always been the creator of economic depressions, of government or countries failing, the people suffering. This ain't done by the people. Half the time it's not even done by an enemy. It's done by the very government these people are living under, and that doesn't stop with us. We are suffering under the very government we have lording over us that think they have the right to lord over us, and they do as long as you allow them to think they have that right. It's only you who can say, no, government, I am the king and master of my domain. You are the servant. You shall not tell me how to live my life. But until then, they're going to run us over the rocks. They're going to screw us. They're going to take everything they got. They already emptied out Fort Knox. If you think there's gold in Fort Knox, we may have to talk about a bridge to Egypt from Florida that we got for sale last week. So, yeah, man, why is this affecting us? Because if the Federal Reserve notes actually lose their world reserve currency, I'm going to ask you to go into history. Don't have to go far back. Just go back to the late 20s, early 1930s in Germany and look up what was called the Weimar Republic. Or if you want something a little bit more recent, look at Zimbabwe, where everybody's a millionaire and billionaire because they got billion-dollar bills. That's how bad their currency is. They need $3 billion to buy a loaf of bread. Yeah, they're all billionaires. You got 2 penny coppers in your pocket, you got more money than they got with their $3 billion for their loaf of bread. So, yeah, this is what we could be looking at here. How do we, what can we do? Suffer the consequences, especially if we give government control of everything and just wait for them to fix it. Because, ladies and gentlemen, government has never, ever, ever fixed anything unless it was a competitional race, which they were going to be the benefactors of. So, this is what we're looking at in Michigan. This is what's been going on. We all see it. You may not want to believe it. No, the government would never do that. If they did, they'd tell us on TV, right? Yeah, they sure would. Right after the power went out and you didn't have a TV, they'd let you know what they did. So, you can let government fix it for you. How's that worked so far? Let's see. Every government on this planet, except for 5, are in debt. In debt. We're in debt. They tell us $18 trillion. If you go to the high-end economic experts, they'll say minimum $100 to $200 trillion because there's unfunded liabilities. Pensions. Interest payments on bonds, securities, interest payments with the Federal Reserve, money borrowed from the Social Security, all this stuff, the derivatives market, the junk bonds. The reason people are losing their houses to banks who never hold the mortgage on their house is because of the junk bond derivative markets. These people are going to, people are losing their homes to Bank of America or, this bank or that bank, and they've never had a mortgage with them. And this is the MERS scandal. MERS, which is, a national housing thing, which was tied to Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. Now, we all remember Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. They're the government housing authorities that went bust after the housing crash of 2007 and 2008. Oh, but that's okay. Unemployment's up. Housing market's selling like hotcakes. You can't keep a house listed. That's only because they got 99 out of 100 of those homes for sale off the market. They're just setting in the bank balance sheets as portfolio footage for the bank. No, we've got a hurt coming down on us financially. Probably, it's going to affect everybody. When you start seeing Greece really falling, and Greece is starting to crack right now, she's broke open. They just got another emergency loan that they got to start paying back, and the problem is, by the time this emergency loan comes due that they just got, the interest payments on all the loans that Greece has gotten over the last few months are going to be more than the Greece are able to make in a daily pay, which means they're going tits up. And when Greece goes tits up, they're taking Europe with them, the entire Eurozone. That's why you're seeing people trying to flood out of the Eurozone. Why do you, when you look at the BRICS, take a look at how many of our countries, quote-unquote, allies have signed on to working with the BRICS nation. Now, let me remind you, BRICS is Brazil. Aren't the United States having Russia or problems with Brazil? Trade relation issues? The R is for Russia. Golly, aren't we having issues with Russia and trade? The other one's India. America won't talk about 3 billion Indians. And the other one's China. Aren't we having issues with China? So, yeah, when you look at the background and the economic issues, this BRICS thing is very serious. So, again, we need to go back. How does that affect us in Michigan? Well, if our Federal Reserve note dies and you need $300 to go buy a loaf of Schaefer soft bread compared to $3, I think that's going to affect you. If we have no viable currency, are you going to accept a Federal Reserve note from your patient? If it's useless, are you going to accept, a dollar bill, a $10 bill, if you know you can't even give it to the guy at the grocery store to buy toilet paper or salt? So should this little potential nastiness come to fruition, I believe it's going to be sooner than later, but I do believe it's coming. John Kerry, as I said earlier, there was an article about this yesterday floating around where he said in 2 years we will be losing the Federal Reserve status, and he wasn't talking losing it back to Britain like they lost it to us after World War II, where the the sterling pound, the British sterling pound was was world reserve currency up until near the end of World War II and after the end of World War II, when the United States Federal Reserve Bank, which isn't federal, it's private, there's no reserve, it's empty, they print and borrow us what we use, and it's not a bank, it's a loan shark. So, the Federal Reserve note took over thing, and all of a sudden, here we are, in late 40s, they took over the world reserve currency, and by golly, only 60 years later, every country in the world is in debt trillions of dollars. But to who? If America's in debt, and Russia's in debt, and China's in debt, and England's in debt, and Iceland's in debt, Greece is in debt, France is in debt, Spain is in debt, China is in debt, Japan's in debt, Taiwan's in debt, North Korea's in debt, South Korea's in debt. There's only 5 countries on this planet that are said to be working in the black. Who in the hell do they owe all that money to? Pluto? Is this reparations for calling Pluto not a planet? And did Pluto sue the Earth and say, you hurt my feelings, that's not politically correct, I want all your money? Who in the piss do we owe $18 trillion? We're told we owe it to the Chinese. What? How can we owe the Chinese $18 trillion when they owe us more than $18 trillion? Yeah. This is called fiduciary scams. This is how accountants make blackout monies go away. This is called cooking the books. Grand scale. This is called screwing you and your children and your grandchildren so they can live like pigs and kings today. And these are the people that run your government. I say your because I just owned this government long ago. I got to play with it, you know. I got to use the Federal Reserve notes because you people won't take anything. If I come up with an ounce of silver, you wouldn't take it if your life depended on it. Even if I told you that ounce of silver is only worth $12 today an ounce. But in 2 days, it's going to be worth $100. You won't believe me until that silver went 2 days and was worth $100. Yeah, it won't happen in 2 days, but it could happen in 20 to 2 years. There's a shitstorm coming, ladies and gentlemen, and it's going to dump on all of us, and they're going to look at your children to pay back their part of the debt. Now, in Michigan, our debt's $74 million. $74 billion. I'm sorry. We owe $74 billion, that with a B, in the state. That's part of the $18 trillion the United States owns. $74 billion. Now, that's funded liability. That's not counting what's unfunded that we really don't hear about and know about, those hidden numbers. So, you know, we got $74 billion in debt. Guess what? That means your child owns about $7,500, and as soon as your kid pops out 3 more kids, those kids owe $7,500 also. It's not just $7,500 for one family. It's $7,500 per person in this state. I don't care if they're being born now. They're cutting the umbilical cord on 300 kids being born in this state this minute, and they all owe $7,500. Does that affect you? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I'm just a little lip slappy tonight. But I'm willing to bet you go talk to an accountant, he's going to make you cry. You know, I love it. You know, I was talking today about somebody else about, you know, this whole idea, you know, just a set of flapping lips. Yeah? How much do you owe on your house? Are you over $200,000 in debt? What happens if your bank calls your loan in today? Can you pay it off within 30 days? Yeah. So you can talk all high and mighty, but I don't owe any money. I'm about, well, I owe a little bit. I'm about $5,000 to $7,000 in debt, and that's it. If they call my loans free, sue me. Take me to the bank. They call your loans in. How's your wife and kid going to enjoy living under the street light, underneath the lamp? Because they ain't repossessing my home. But if you owe $300,000, $200,000 and you can't pay off your home, you think the bank's just going to let you stay until you can make it right? They're the ones that put you there in the first place. No, they're going to kick your butt out and take your home and sell it to the highest bidder. And just because you don't have money don't mean there aren't people that out there. They've been embezzling it from us for decades. They've got money. You ain't got none. You've got Federal Reserve notes. They've got gold and silver, diamonds, and property that's paid for, that they own no lease. They own no, money on it. There is nothing there. It's theirs, paid for in full, because they've stolen your money and bought their toys with it. So how is that going to affect you? How does that affect the Medical Marijuana Act? All that stuff, that we were talking about last night that I was mentioning. Well, if the dollar goes belly up, you can understand how that's going to affect it. So how do we fix that? Well, that's where the repeal, abrogation of prohibition comes in. The only way we're going to get through an issue like that as a state is to have resources in the state that we don't have to import from another country, thus pay for their costs, asking costs, or another state like Ohio or Illinois, Indiana, Texas, California, whatever. If we can grow our own resource, and we can with hemp, we've already got the manufacturing base, though it's pretty dilapidated. After NAFTA, they pretty much sold everything, including this, the scrap piddle room. But, we've got infrastructure here. If Michigan were to have a viable resource that we could manufacture or grow or, procure within the state, then we can make items out of that as next to low cost as possible. And if they're good items, we can sell them to other people in other states and make good money. We could actually have an export business based on hemp and cannabis products. We all know what hemp does. We all know what cannabis does. We all know what it doesn't do. It doesn't make you an addict. It doesn't make you go crazy. It doesn't make you want to do stupid stuff. It does make you see the truth, and it's hard to bullshitter. That's why it's illegal, because you cannot be allowed to be self-sustainable. The government cannot survive if you can survive yourself without the government. And this is on every level. So, yeah, how does this affect us? Majorly. How does it affect the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act? Probably not too much unless the dollar really goes belly up, and then it's going to affect it because prices are going to soar, and what are you going to accept? If the Federal Reserve knows they're bad, you're going to take silver, gold, diamonds, food, toilet paper, salt, pepper. We can make all that stuff, a majority of the stuff that we would need to be just fine out of cannabis and hemp. Am I saying the world is going to crash? No. But when you got only 5 countries in the world that are not in debt, they're going deeper in debt. Countries have been failing. Greece is about to fail, and when Greece goes like dominoes, you're going to see the Eurozone goes. I mean, these are economic factualities. The Eurozone is all tied together. The European Union, remember? The euro, the monetary European piece called the euro. Everybody uses it. If Greece goes down, the euro goes with it. The euro goes down, it's taking the dollar with it too. China just devalued their currency because they're way in debt too. China is farther extended than we are. They've been writing $1,000 blank checks or, unfundable checks. We've only been writing $100 and $500 bank checks for the last couple decades up until we got 2008 and in the bailouts, which has been, how many hundreds of, millions, billions, or trillions of dollars. So, yeah, if this thing goes belly up, we're in a world of hurt. The entire country is. The entire world is, because how in the hell do you pay somebody off if you don't have money that has no value? And the Federal Reserve note today has no value, and it's still viable. You're still accepting it. So is Myers, so is Walmart, so is the gas station, so is the electric company, so is the phone company. They're all taking those fake $100 bills called the fiat currency of the Federal Reserve note. But for how long? Cannabis and hemp, that's the one thing. Our farmers can grow it. I've said this a few times. A lot of you people know it. 2 acres of hemp produces 300 gallons of fuel, 100 barrels of oil, however you want to break it down. There isn't anything that we could not do from hemp that is done with crude oil or nylon or cotton or any of these other things that we typically don't have a lot of. Now, Michigan's got a bit of crude oil. Michigan's been a fracking state since the 70s. Yeah, fracking since the 70s. Believe it or not, it's been going on that long. For the most part, it's not been too big of a deal. It's been all right. But over the last decade or two, they've had to go deeper and get into more structurally permanent, substructures of the, geotectonic plates. And when they start cracking that up under the fracking deal, that's what we're causing problems. The oil is not as easy to access. They got to go deeper to get it, and that's causing some problems. The angle well drilling and that angle tracking, that's an issue. So we've got fracking wells in this state. I can take you around Bay County, Saginaw, the Thumb, up Pinconning, Aranac, up in there. There's wells, Midland, all over the place. Henry. Herbert Dow created Dow Chemical off brine wells that he was drilling in the early 1900s. Saltwater brine wells. That's where Dow got his start. And there's a lot of brine wells all over Midland County that are capped off. And what sits underneath brine, or on top of brine? Usually frack oil that they frack out of the way. So yeah, this is nothing new, but why do that? We can grow it. Our farmers can grow it. When we've got farmers growing wanted crops, farmers are busy, and when farmers are busy, neighboring areas in the farms are busy. When the neighboring areas are busy, the stores are busy because people are buying, people are shopping, they need help, they need product, they need goods, economy raises, prices stay economically right compared to the money. A gallon of gas in 1962 was about 27 cents. That 1962 gallon of gas could very well be 27 cents today, if the Federal Reserve currency was still tied to gold and silver, because that gold and silver has value. That gold and silver is money. The Federal Reserve note is not money, it's debt. So yeah, how does that affect us? Well, how does it not affect us, ladies and gentlemen? How does it not? So we're looking here, we got about 50 minutes into this here, and I've been kind of going off on this, Federal Reserve thing, and it's kind of seems unconnected, but it's all really connected in the deep, dark hurdles of the, issue. So, the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. Last night, I was, explaining how it's been so, over the last 5 years, perverted by the state, so screwed up, so corrupted, so constitutionally ran through our state courts, our state legislature, our state senate. Are we going to allow that to continue? Do you think they're going to, Michigan government's going to go one day, oh my golly, we've been taking advantage of the people. How dare we? Oh my goodness, people of Michigan, forgive us. Let us repent and make it right with you. You think they're going to do that? Give some money to Joel Osteen in hope of he's going to get you into heaven. And that's probably got about as good as a chance of happening. About as good as a chance as a snowball's chance in hell. So, legalize recreational cannabis. I've told you a lot about it. You've all heard me. It's a misnomer, a distraction, a diversion, a change of important topic to a weak, not important topic. Because if you're talking about the weak, not important thing, like getting high, because the recreational bill gets us to get high, I can look past the joint on my head of my fingers and not worry about getting arrested. I might only get a $100 ticket. Yeah. Good luck with that. So, we're looking at this going, do we keep the Medical Marijuana Act? This is where I'm at with it. it's being turned into the club. I loved the act. It was one of the best in the nation. Probably the best in the nation at the time it came out. Had it been implemented by the Democrats when they were in control for 2 more years, we never would have been here because they would have implemented it fully. The Republicans, when they came in 2010, couldn't have done squat. They could have done nothing and left out a 75% supermajority, which now they think they got. So make no mistake, this is not a Michigan citizen versus the Republican Party of Michigan. This is not a Michigan citizen versus the Tea Party group of Michigan. This is not the Michigan citizens, for you Republicans out there, versus the liberal Democrats part of the government of Michigan. No, ladies and gentlemen, this is called the governmental coin. On one side is the Republican heads, on the other side is the Democratic tails, and when you flip a coin, it ends heads or tails. But the sad part is, you don't even realize it, you're on the edge of the coin. So let me ask you, how many times have you flipped a coin and has it landed on your edge? If you can tell me how many times that coin, that political coin, has flipped and landed on your benefit, on the edge where it benefits you, and prove there's 5 times, I might have something special that I can even give you. Might not be much, might be a lot. So, yeah, there's a lot of things going on here. There's a lot of things happening. And how do we deal with it? You know, is the Medical Marijuana Act going to be the same act by the time 2016 rolls around? I don't know. By looking at, what they're doing, we've got the damn provisioning bill coming in, which they're putting in with their 75% supermajority. We've got the, edible bills coming in, which we've already got under any preparations thereof, but, the government took it away from you and said, oh, you're dumb. You read that in there? Well, that's not what you meant. That's not what you meant to write. That's not what you meant to have. That's not what you intended to read. So you're wrong. We're right. It's a gray area. You're too dumb in Michigan. You should have never voted for this stupid bill. That's the way they treated you, like a 5-year-old. You want to be treated like a 5-year-old? You enjoy that recreational legalized pot. Because you will be treated like a 5-year-old, and the seed-to-sale tracking, as I call it, seed-to-jail tracking, that was just introduced in the judiciary by counsel, is the proof of that. If you can't see that, you get what you deserve. Maybe should be getting a call in here very shortly, I hope. And then we'll get some other interactions going on. So, Michigan Medical Marijuana, I need you people to call me. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like about the last 6 years. We need to discuss this. Because at this point, I think leaving it is putting the knife to our own throats, and even helping the government start the, stroke motion to cut our throats. Do you really trust the Michigan legislature and the Michigan Senate, Michigan House, to not try to slip in warrantless compliance checks? To not try to slip in anything else they can slip in to use as a club against you? Against that recreational patient who doesn't have a doctor's recommendation? Yeah, I know you guys are out there promoting this, and the group's putting together said, oh, it's only $100 fine. Then why does it say imprisonment 5 or 6 times in your damn legislation? If it's only $100 fine, how come you're talking about people in prison? That's not repeal of prohibition, you liars. Yeah, I'm going to have a long dramatic pause there. You cannot say you're repealing prohibition while leaving language which is giving people the right to go to, the instance of going to jail because the government says they're a dirty criminal. Yeah. Let's vote for that because the government will make it better. Well, guy, our fountainheads say they fixed it. Yeah, like they did in 2012, like they said in 2013. They were working with Lansing and made it better. That's what they were telling us 2 years ago. 2012. You can't go to Lansing. You might upset them, make them cry, and not want to work with us anymore. Aw, poor baby. You guys paid $300,000 or however, $3 to Carlton, and he screwed you, and I love it. I think it's great. How's it feel, turd heads? Yeah. Who's been saying, keep going to the belly of the beast? Oh, yeah, they're helping us, Mr. Locke. You just don't understand. I don't see you down here selling everybody else out. You're damn right you don't, you idiots. They sold you down the river and everybody with it, and I can't believe you people are buying this bull crap. It's insane. We have been lied to by the government, by the cops, by the district courts, the circuit courts, the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals, the Attorney General. Lied directly to your face. I don't follow the laws, or I don't make the laws, I just follow them. Yeah, with your 115 IQ, you're lucky you got out of high school. You ain't smart enough to think about how to make a law. You definitely ain't intelligent enough to think about how to follow them, because if you followed the laws the way they were supposed to be, you'd follow the Constitution. But no, policy says I get to pull you over my little flickery lights and steal money from you because you understand my authority. Respect my authority. Yeah. Who remembers the seatbelt law? This is a big conversation over last weekend. Seatbelt law. Oh, they can't pull you over for it. They'll never be able to pull you over for it. It's just for your safety. Have you gotten a seatbelt law lately? Oh, it's $60 first offense, $122nd. Responsibility fee by the third, $500 responsibility fee. Yeah, and here's another one. I've been beating on this little potential coming into the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act by 75% supermajority of warrantless compliance checks. But boy, I've heard a lot of people in the last month making noise about, I was checked out. I don't even know how they knew I was a car. They're not supposed to know, but they come and did a warrantless compliance check. They intimidated me, so I had to let them in because I don't know my constitutional rights. And I believe my fountainhead who told me for $2,500 retainer, just give me a call. I'll take care of that for you. I don't need your constitution. I'm part of the game. Yeah, you go to a pimp and buy a hooker and think you're getting a great deal. Just like people are getting pulled over and asked about marijuana before they're even told why they're pulled over, how are they doing these, compliance checks? There's people all over the state's been talking about them. Call me crazy, call me lunatic. There's enough pissed off people that's had to go through it. So yeah, where are we at? What are we doing? All right, got a caller here. I'm going to bring in the caller. I think I know who this is. They've been on hold for about 2 minutes. I'm sorry, I wasn't on page. There's caller. Hello, caller. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Is it Dana? Or
Yep,
somebody else?
yep.
Okay,
Oh, it's Dana.
Sure. I wasn't sure. I didn't recognize the number.
Oh, yeah, Wyoming number.
Yeah.
My super secret. My super secret bat phone.
I was going to say, yeah, that's not even a Michigan area code.
Yeah. It's the phone I call this, the fancy phone that I don't know how to use. It's really, really smart, apparently. And I'm really, really stupid. So. Well, we are at Clio Cultivators right now.
Right on. How's it going down there?
Going pretty good. They've got a pretty large crowd. The med tent is just packed. I'm over at camp because I'm babysitting, but
all right.
Yeah, they have a band. It's pretty good. There's a lot of people are here. A lot of locals, a lot of stuff. They've moved. They're in a whole new spot. Right on. And then tomorrow I'll be down at the comp. I'll be kind of roaming around different places because I'm nannying and I'll have some of my stuff to set up over at Noah's, all my free stuff that I give out.
Right.
So, I'll be seeing you guys. So, that's about it. Just been a busy couple of days.
Yeah, that's right. I was down and out yesterday. I woke up in that low pressure cell. It felt like somebody drove a spike in the middle of my back till about 5 o'clock, so I didn't even hardly get out of bed yesterday. I was so hurting. By evening, I was good, but boy, it exhausted me, man. I was exhausted last night. Went and did my work today, and I was going to come down tonight. But, man, I got done working, and I was just, I don't even know if I'm going to be awake enough to do the show. I'm so tired. So, by the time I got home, I thought, all right, I'll just go down tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's been a long week, even with sometimes not as much going on. It's just been a long week. Got me tired.
Oh, yeah. Well, we had last weekend, and then I'm still trying to dig out from that at home.
Oh, I bet.
I'm almost done. We got most of it done.
I still got a little bit of work to do here from before I went up there.
Right.
I got to unload yet, but yeah, it'll wait until I get a few moments. I'll probably get to it.
That's how it goes with my world.
So what else is going on? A lot of people there. Anything interesting happening, and any interesting discussions or topics over there that's out of the norm?
No. Everything's just about getting high. I'll be quite honest with you.
It's pretty much
medicating, I'm sorry. It's just a big party. We've been busy setting things up because she's in the Huntress Jolene is who I'm babysitting for. And she has a booth in the main part, the Speedway itself. So anybody who's got a card and wants to go in there, give her a visit. She needs to make money so I can make money.
Right on.
Yeah. So, but tomorrow's when I'll be able to do discussing with people. So I'll just meet people in the parking lot. You know me. I could do it at the grocery store. I've done it at the grocery store. I do it at the courthouse.
I do too. I think I'm gonna come down there afternoon. I'm hoping my phone works well enough and somebody's got internet connection around there. I might try to do a 2-hour broadcast tomorrow from down there. I might make it
right on.
6 or 7 o'clock when things are getting busy. Of course, I want to make sure everybody, I'm not stepping on anybody else's toes who's doing anything there. Somebody may be doing a live broadcast. I don't want to step on their toes. But I may do it, if I get down there and I can make it work, I may try 2 hours down there just for, babbling, flapping lips, chat conversation for about...
Interview people. Do live on the streets.
That's kind of what I was thinking, do a live on the street and a little discussion, and if people are willing to talk, see what happens.
That would be cool. The only problem with this whole thing is now I got to sit here with the fancy phone to my ear, which means I'm going to get cancer this weekend. It's going to happen.
Right. You need to get you some headphones for that.
Oh, no worries. If there's enough cannabinoids in my system, I'll be golden.
Right.
Oh.
So, I'm hoping I got to get up tomorrow, and the daughter and I are going to spend some time at the local fair for a little while in the late morning, early afternoon, and then I'll get her home and get set up. I don't know if she wants to come with me. She's 22, so she can come into the open and uncarded area, the public area. But she's pretty timid about big crowds, so she probably won't come. I'm trying to get her acclimated into getting back into crowds and stuff because, she needs to get herself exposed to more people and get, comfortable being around people.
Right.
People with autism, sometimes they don't like big crowds.
Right.
too much stimulation going on.
Right.
She was having
Now,
at work too.
out of curiosity, oh, sorry.
Oh,
is it free? Oh, we keep talking over each other. I went out there where it was louder again.
Right. Yeah, I took a job, and just the hecticness of a normal job, which it was, she was working in a nursing home, which really ain't too hectic unless somebody's having a crash. That was a little intimidating for her. So yeah, people with autism, they got a lot of different things to deal with, and most people realize.
Right. Right on. They have their own little issues. We all do.
Well, I tell you what, you take a few minutes, and I'm going to put myself on mute and relax a minute.
Do you just want me to talk?
Yeah, talk your little heart out. I'll come in when I have to, but I don't want to cough in everybody's ear. Okay, well, I just want to tell everybody just to remember that no matter what happens with any ballot initiative, we still have those rights, those same rights that we have, that we wake up with. We wake up every day with the right to smoke this cannabis. We have the right, or ingest it, or do whatever we want with it. We have the right to grow things, to make things with it. And no matter what government law they make, they never take that right away from you. We just have to take it back. And there's simple ways to take it back, whether with these ballot initiatives or not, which is the democratic process, which is far from what we are. And then there's also something called civil disobedience. And civil disobedience is this great, wonderful thing, and it means you just don't follow the law. If you're opposed to what they're teaching your kids in school, don't send them. If you're opposed to cannabis laws, smoke away and do it publicly and let people know. Go ahead and go to jail for it. When the judge asks you if you know what crime you committed, you say, no, I really don't. And you explain to them how you didn't. And then you fight your court case. And then we start teaching people about jury nullification. That is a beautiful, beautiful thing. It was used way back with the Greeks and the Romans and all of them, and they kind of passed it along as more little communities were made. But the first codified notation of it with the Anglo-Saxons, the one that founded this country, was 1670 with William Penn. Because of the king's affair, with a certain woman, he gave the control of England to the church, and you had to have the Church of England. He was a Quaker, and he didn't like the Church of England. He wanted to be a Quaker. So way back in the Magna Carta, they had this freedom of religion. They could worship anything they wanted. They had to have a few rules with it, but they could worship what they wanted. They made new laws. The people said, no, we're going to defy you. Well, William Penn and his buddy, they both got in trouble for it. They got charged, would you say, and they went to court. And while they were in court, the jury refused to convict because they knew the charter. That charter was the Magna Carta. It was just the same as our Constitution, and they know that they had that right. And they said, no, we aren't going to convict. Well, they put the jury in jail with very little food and water for a very long time, very bad conditions. Some people got the word out to the appellate court, and the appellate court made a decision, not a ruling, but a decision, that said that the people had the right to judge the law and their conscience, as well as the person and the case at hand. And that followed us to America. And we get into what founded America. Everybody says, oh, a bunch of rich white guys that owned slaves that just wanted to blah, 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 blah. Look up your history. There were black people and there were women hugely involved in it. Yep. Look up Mercy Otis Warren. She did wonderful, wonderful things with Mercy Otis. She's one of my heroes. Look up the first dude that died in the Revolution was a black dude. He was a freeman, and he was black, and he was sounding alarm, and they killed him. Yeah. No, he was also a Confederate, wasn't he? Wasn't he a Confederate soldier?
No. He was before Confederacy. He had offspring that was Confederate soldiers.
Okay.
You can Wikipedia him, and I can't remember his name. Crispus Attucks. His name is Crispus Attucks. He was the first black guy to die. Or first person to die, and he was a black guy. There we go. And so, but you move on, and before you even get to the Revolution, what was happening before that? The people weren't happy. First, they were just trying to make it here. The king said, you guys go over there, you have some fun, and we're just going to ignore you. So they went through hell. And they started running things around here, and they liked what they had, and they were trading freely with other people in other countries. The king got word of it, and he said, oh, no. And some of these things you hear about pirates was actually bootleggers. And these bootleggers were going and getting tea and spices and trading their hemp and whatever else they had for goods. And the king says, nope, I have to have a piece of this pie. So he created the East India Trading Company. And you had to buy everything from him. It had to have the stamp on the bottom. If you got married, you had to have the stamp. If you had a baby, you had to have the stamp. Well, people were paying these taxes and couldn't afford it and started revolting. So John Jay, about 10 years, I think it was, maybe more, right before the revolution, he was a tax collector and an attorney. And he started fighting these search and seizure cases. And he took a huge brief to them, to court, and fought it in court. And they kind of took it under advisement but never did anything about it. And then he got beat almost to death. And it took a little bit longer of the people just being unhappy. The women, they wrote letters to the king saying the men were not brave because they wore masks. And just all kinds of amazing things you can learn. But it comes back down to it. They did not follow the law. When the king came over with his little search warrants, that's what you could call them. They called them writs of assistance. All they needed was this writ of assistance. The king said, here, I give you this power. So they'd knock, 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 not in the mood today, shut the door. Well, they'd write themselves out a writ of assistance. Knock, 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 now we're taking you to jail, we're killing you, we're taking all your shit, raping your daughters. Yeah. So, we've got these rights that they already knew about because they had all those charters before. That's where the genealogy of the Constitution comes in. Learn those previous documents. They had 5 of them. And they said, no, we have these rights, go away. But it kept happening and kept happening. They kept violating the law. They were using jury nullification to not convict people. And the king got wind of that, so he started taking them to France and Canada to be tried.
Correct.
So that they wouldn't have to follow common law, with no victim, no crime. They wouldn't have to follow legislation without representation, taxation without representation, unlawful search and seizure, all these things that they already knew they had the right to. And that's when the revolution started. That's when the Lee Resolution was signed. Patrick Henry did his speech. The world was on fire. And they wrote a letter to the king, the Declaration. And we have every one of those grievances that are in that darn thing right now. Correct. We have them. Tenfold. One of my favorite is he has erected a multitude of new offices and sent his officers hither to eat out our substance. Swarms of his officers hither to eat out our substance. What the hell do you call task forces? What do you call CPS? What do you call DEQ? EPA, you name it. If it is not Congress and it is not Senate, they have no right to write laws and policy. The DNR shut down pig farmers over a policy that is nowhere in the law. They wrote their own shit. CPS is writing their own shit.
Correct.
And then when the people start to fight back, that's when they write a quick little MCL that'll get passed. Shush, shush, hush, hush. They'll do it. And then it's just nuts. And those are the things we have to defy. CPS comes to your house, I'm sorry. Not dealing with you today. Go get a court order. And they'll get their court order, and then you fight like fucking hell. You don't jump through any of their hoops. You don't do anything they say, and you make it as public as you can. All these cannabis attorneys that keep telling people to shut up, bullshit. Sing it from the highest damn mountaintop that you can. Everyone in your town needs to know that you are not guilty.
That's what we got a First Amendment for.
What are the 5 clauses of the First Amendment? Name them, Tim.
Oh, I couldn't.
Oh, see, you should know that.
I should, but it's been a long time.
You should know that is your law. That is the supreme law of the land. That is the law that tells the government how they're supposed to live.
Yep.
That is what that is.
I do it. At one time, I did know almost the entire thing verbatim by heart, but we're talking 25 years ago.
Okay. Well, your First Amendment.
The reality of government life.
Your First Amendment. You have the right to freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press.
Correct.
Assembly, and redress of grievances.
Redress and grievances.
You have all of those things just sitting there waiting for you to do it. The Second Amendment. It's not for hunting. It's not for skeet shooting. It's not for pretty baubles to hang on your wall. It is to protect your property. Samuel Adams or John Madison, James Madison, I can't ever remember the quotes. I'm not Chris Van Hall and everything. But he said a man is to have a right in his property and a property in his right.
Correct.
So you were to have those things. They were yours. And with the right to defend them both. which was your Second Amendment. Read the original intent. Your Federalist Papers, your Anti-Federalist Papers, look them up, read them. They're not boring. They wake up your eyes, and then you just want to scream and yell at people like I do. People are like, you are nuts. I'm like, because I'm 24/7 on this. You've heard me. You've seen me. This is all I do.
You are.
It's all I do. I go out and I troll Facebook and I piss people off because I'm like, you are an ignorant moron. I don't say it's that mean.
Right.
But people seem to get pissed off at the word sheeple, don't you know?
Yeah.
You know, but that's what they are. They're blindly following this lie.
Right. I mean, I was having a conversation earlier with, one of the guys I'm working with here, the guy I'm doing some work for, I should say. And our conversation come up, about the school and the way things are done, and, we're talking about it, and I just made the comparison. Well, the way I see it, we're all fish, but they've trained a whole bunch of us to think that we're monkeys and therefore need to climb a tree to be successful. And if you're a fish that thinks you're a monkey, how in the hell are you going to climb a tree? And wonder why you feel bad when you're not successful.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, and everybody keeps saying we're not that slaves. We're not enslaved yet. We're not that oppressed. But they don't stop and talk and think about the things that are really going on.
Well,
the true things that are going on. They don't go hang out in the courtroom. I tell people when they're like, oh, no, it's not that bad. Because I call the judges kings and, princesses and all these things. And I'm rude about it. And I'm loud about it. In the courthouse. Right in front of them. I don't care. But these people are like, oh, no. And I just tell them, just go sit for one week and listen to every court case, all the driving on a suspended, all the driving without a license, all the cannabis, all the alcohol. Not one victim in any of those crimes. And they convince these people to plead guilty to a non-crime, and as long as you plead guilty to something, you're upholding the law. Yep. You say, no, I'm not guilty. And you might lose. If you lose, take it back on appeal.
Right.
And keep going and keep going. Every case needs to go to the Supreme Court. When that freaking lawyer starts saying, well, blah, blah versus blah, blah, and blah, 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 well, for every case law they have that helps your case, there's 10 case laws against you.
Yep, but they're hidden. You got to find them.
Right. And the thing about it is that's not law. That is an opinion. It is a decision.
Yep,
it is not law.
State.
You know why people think it's the law? Because in 1803, that quickly after the Constitution was ratified, the Supreme Court usurped their power in the Separation of Powers Clause. They said in Marbury versus Madison, we are the supreme rulers of the universe, and whatever we say go means that that's the law until the end of time.
Right.
And your attorney and your attorney that you hire who hasn't read the freaking clause in the Constitution and paid attention to it, he's going to tell you, well, and you look at him and you want to give him shake a baby syndrome. Mm. Oh, sorry, I get on a rant sometimes, but this is and I just sit and I watch it. Joshua Covert, everyone loves him. You read the damn thing in my bathroom, I hope. That magazine where he sat here and he says, well, this Constitution gives them that right. Bullshit. I woke up with that right. The Constitution there and codifies it so that your ass doesn't come and break into my house and search and seize my things without probable cause. These search warrants that say anything to do with marijuana, fuck you. It has to say specifically what type, what plant, how, when, why, and where it's located in my shit. That's how you get a search warrant.
Beyond that, George W. Bush, the last president, said, Constitution is just a goddamn piece of paper. Well, anyway, he's right. It is just a goddamn piece of paper. It's only got power if you give it power. Mm-hmm. If you don't believe it's got power, guess what? You're just a slave. Because that Constitution is our armor. It is our sword if we use it properly. That's why they don't teach us. That's why they taught us not how to use it and say, submit to the will of your lawyer and the authorities because, well, they know the Constitution better than you ever could. They've been paper trained.
And learning the Constitution is not that big. It's a very small book.
It actually is.
Reading the Federalist Papers, a very small book. And you can refer back to them.
I read the entire Michigan Constitution last night in half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. I'm a fairly quick reader, but I'm reading it online with big words, so it was easy. But yeah, it only took, each article is only a paragraph, when you get down to the executive, you got 20 different little sections down there, but each one's only a paragraph long, 4 or 5 sentences at most. You can read through it really quick. And it's plain English, people. This isn't...
And everywhere you look to, there's places to learn it more.
Yep.
Liberty University, they do free online constitutional classes, and they're not bad. They do pretty good. Chrissy and Hall, of course, man. You just listen to her podcast, read her stuff, research everything she talks about. Get a pen and paper out sometimes. I carry one around with me in the house when I'm cleaning and listening to Chrissy.
Yeah. Yep.
Take my notes, and then I look it up. I verify what she says. I don't take her word for it.
Yep.
She used to be an attorney. She might get confused.
Hey, that's what I tell everybody. Don't believe me. I don't care if you believe me. Hell, I want you to be so pissed off at me that you want to prove me wrong. And you try to prove me wrong. Please go. Try. That's what I was saying earlier in the bill, where you were talking about, the sitting in the court and I'm trying to do it on the other side for the money. Once everybody realizes how fake the Federal Reserve dollar is, how it's created a lot of our problems on top of the prohibition of cannabis, which actually they're entwined in the deep background. But when you realize how worthless that dollar is, and you realize that 1963 gallon of gas for 27 cents is actually still only 27 cents, you're only paying $3 because the dollars you're using are worth crap.
Yes.
The rest of it
And to have debt, you have to create more debt. We live on debt. We live on a big, huge, shiny bubble lie. And what do they teach kids in school? Because it's all part of the plan.
You gotta have
1851.
A
1851. 1851, the Prussians came over. The Prussians were Lincoln's buddies. And Lincoln was a fan of Stalin, and Hitler was a fan of Lincoln. It all works together. These communists that have been trying to take over forever and never have won. So that stripe of liberty is in our hearts.
Right.
But where was I going? I just lost my train of thought. Somebody talked to me.
The Prussians
so the Prussians came over, yes. And they started bringing their education system with them, which is an education system basically written for the Industrial Revolution.
Well,
get people in being good slaves.
Well, wasn't the Prussian education, I read somewhere a long time ago, most likely, but I thought the people who developed the Prussian education system modeled it after the military training for the Roman soldiers.
Now, that I haven't heard. I just know it came from Germany.
Right, but they modeled it after how they taught the Roman soldiers, because the Roman soldiers would fight to the death. They didn't care.
Right on.
They would follow authority.
Because what it's teaching our children, it teaches our children authority. Raise your hand to go to the bathroom. You should be able to get up and go piss whenever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Raise your hand to do this. Walk in a straight line, good slave. Sit in that desk all day long. Why in the heck does a 6th grader or 6-year-old, why are they expected to sit in a desk all day long? And they want your children earlier and earlier. They give you these programs. Hey, put your kid in Head Start so we can start the indoctrination earlier.
Yep. You got a human, a person here that can't calm down if they wanted to without sugar. Yeah, and you strap them to a desk and wonder why they're antsy. And then, hey, let's give them some Adderall because, they've got mental issues. They can't handle sitting here doing nothing and being bored off their ass.
All part of the plan.
Yep.
You have to dumb them down. You have to make them good slaves so that they'll be good slaves later.
Yeah. Why are teachers sending students, doctors to get prescriptions? Why aren't parents thinking about this? Why are the teachers, your kid's got a problem? And parents believe it. Oh, he does?
Oh, yeah. Because they've been taught. It takes 3 generations. We're right in there. Because the Prussians came over in 1851. They started their plan, and that's why the Union had to stay together. So look up the Civil War. We're not going to get into it, but it's the only reason the Union had to stay together. That's the only reason we fought that war. They had a plan. They conceived it. Right around the time that it started happening, you had to lawfully put your kids into school. You had to follow that law. First they made you think it was a good idea, so you got this school going. Then you got your kids into it, and then it became mandatory. They snuck it in. It's mandatory.
Yep.
Around that same time was when they had the Fed. They started income tax. Then we had the Depression, of course. That's when they started prohibiting things. All of these laws are new. In the grand scheme of things, all of this is new. New within the last 200 years. We started this country out with very few laws. Don't kill, don't maim, don't murder. Don't steal. That's it. Then they started saying, no drinking, no this, no that, because it's got to be part of the plan. We control you. We tell you what to do. And once that third generation is there, which is my kids, they're good slaves. Go chase that shiny bauble. I need that boat, so I'm going to work overtime so that the government can have all of my money.
Yep. I got to keep up with the Johnsons. They got a new lawnmower and a pretty new Porsche. I better buy that Maserati.
Yep.
I never cared about the bauble. I mean, I was one. Yeah, sure, I like to live a good life. Sure, I like to drink a bottle of Dom Perignon. But coffee with a little bit of Kahlua is just fine.
Hey, dude, I can't even afford Kahlua. If I get something like that, it's Pomona.
Yeah, Kahlua.
I got to get the cheap stuff.
Yeah, Carolyn.
I got to drink generic.
Carolyn's actually pretty damn good.
Yeah, I like the Kimona or Kimura. It's called Kimura.
Yeah, Kimura.
I like that one.
Yeah, Kimura's not bad. But yeah, I mean, I had this. Me and my ex-wife had this argument a lot. We need to do this. We need to do that. We got to do. No, we don't. We don't need to do that. We don't need to move into town because the house out here has no carpeting right now because I tore it out and it was 1978 shag and we're in 1994 and I'm thinking it's time to replace carpeting.
Right.
Yeah, we need a new look. No, we need to move into this rental instead of living in this house that's owned that we can pay almost nothing for except for utilities. Because that just ain't good enough. So
well, I've never been like that.
Yeah, so we moved from a 3-bedroom house into a 2-bedroom apartment that I could have put in a third of my house. Oh, it's so much better because we're in town by all the idiots. All the cops.
Right.
All the other crap that's going on that I like staying away from because that's just not my scene.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I look at my buddies, right out of high school, going to college. 4 years later, getting out of college, owing $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, and getting a damn job in the cable industry because their 4-year degree in accounting was useless. Nobody would hire.
All part of the plan again.
Yep. Even if they're a great student, had good grades, there just was no jobs for them because in the late 80s and 90s, all the jobs were heading overseas.
Oh, and definitely by 2008 when the crash hit.
I mean, it's kind of funny. I remember being, first grade, second grade, third grade, hearing our government and our educators. You're going to be the age of people. You're going to be the generation that conquers space. You're going to go out and you're going to find these new things. You're going to explore space because that was what we were told. That we're right after we landed on the moon in 1969. I mean, this was the thing. This generation is going to be the space age generation. And by 1979, 1980, this generation is going to be middle management.
Yep.
For the rest of the world. Hey, you ain't going to have to labor in the coal mine, little boy. You just got to buckle up and be the slave master below us. For everybody else. Right.
And then now what do we have? We have a lot of slave masters, and then we have the little people that, wait on them at the grocery store, wait on them at the restaurant.
Even worse than that. I mean, how many people do you need for middle management? They were training an entire generation, and they only needed a tenth of a percent to be the middle
But
management.
The thing is, okay, you got to get the indoctrination complete. So you keep doing it, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it. And these kids go to school for so long, and then they're taught, okay, in order to chase that big shiny bauble on the hill, you have to go get more indoctrination and pay for it. Because a good slave starts out in debt. Yes, a good slave starts out in debt.
Yep. I was talking with my buddy earlier. I was doing work with him. I told him, he said, I love it, all these people, trying to tell me, oh, you've got nothing. You've done nothing. And I'm like, and I was talking about this earlier on the radio show. Yeah? How much is your house mortgage valued at? And how much do you owe? Most of my buddies are $200, $300, $150,000 in debt. They're 45, 48 years old, and they owe more on their home still. I could have bought my home 5 times over for that price.
You know what the most beautiful thing in the world was? Quite honestly? When all the shit hit the fan.
Mm-hmm.
When the shit hit the fan.
Oh, I love
it. We had to walk away from our mortgage in Detroit, and our mortgage in Detroit was only like $50,000. We didn't have, a huge mortgage, and but we still had to walk away from it because he lost his job. Everybody I knew lost their job.
Right. Everybody.
And restaurants closed, bars closed, bars that have been open for 50 years closed.
Right.
Grant's Roadhouse, all kinds of bars.
Yeah,
restaurants. We went from making $100. Yeah. We went from making $100 on a bad night to $40 on a good night. Yeah. So it became a pretty big deal, and so we walked away. We took the choice. We had the house up north paid off, and we moved in, and we learned how to farm. And it's hard work, but it's fun, and it's cool as hell to get your own stuff out of your own yard.
Well, something I can remember both my grandfathers saying. Now, my dad's father, I don't remember him very well. I was probably 4 or 5 years old when he passed away. I was pretty young. But my mom's dad, he was always around, and so, he always says this thing. He says, the only good thing is worth working for. If it comes free, it's got no value for you. And he was right. I've busted my ass my whole life,
Hey, lady.
I've taken the easy ride once in a while, but I kind of work for what I got. I enjoy hard work. I find that the more I hurt, sometimes the harder I work, the better I end up feeling at the end of the day. Beat up, tired.
Oh, yeah.
But I've worked out the pain.
Oh, yeah. And the more you move, the better you feel.
Mm-hmm.
The more you sit. Like yesterday, I was in the car all day long. All day. Because we left at like 1. We didn't get settled finally till like 8 o'clock because we had all these errands to run and stuff. And I was stiff. Just stiff. But today we've been moving, setting things up here, setting things up at the co-op.
Yep.
I'm not as bad.
What do we do with kids, from 5 years old to, 18? What do we do? Make them sit in school 8 hours a day and wonder why they hurt at the end of the night.
Yeah. 8-year-olds. I have a headache. Why?
They're stiff.
Yeah. They aren't getting sunlight. They're not getting work.
Yeah.
Think about it. Kids used to live on farms like mine where it was just self-sustaining. People didn't grow acres and acres and acres of corn to feed the whole world. No, they fought just enough stuff, and then they bartered with their neighbor. Farms just like mine. A small garden, maybe a big acreage. We need acreage like that other side, and do hay for our animals because we do buy a lot of hay. But that's equipment we don't have, though. But, and I want to be self-sustaining. We made everything we needed at home. We didn't need that shiny grocery store. We didn't need that shiny paycheck.
Most people don't even know it was the middle 1950s before over half the country got indoor plumbing, for damn sakes.
Right.
In the early 50s, over half of this country was going outside to crap. There was no hot water. There was no cold water. There was a well that you bucketed the damn water up out of.
And we have these little kids. These kids go to school here in Ottaway. Well, basically Ottaway. But they go to the Ottaway school. And there's kids that are better off, the credit union kids or the Moran Iron kids or any of this stuff. You smell like wood smoke, and they'll make fun of them. I've heard adults in the store, ew, smell that wood smoke, gross. Again, northern Michigan, we did not get forced air. I mean, that wasn't so long ago. They're outlawing wood stoves in cities, in townships, in counties.
Yes, in the state, they're trying. In the country, they're trying to. The EPA is putting shit down federally on trying to outlaw wood stove sales.
They've already got it.
Yeah, because
they've outlawed certain ones.
Your own wood and heat yourself because, you're stripping the forests they're going to need to strip 30 years from now.
We've been fighting that in Presque Isle County, the county over from me, where Ottaway is. That's another county. Mm-hmm. We've been fighting that for a little while because they snuck in an ordinance and all the in that county, all but 2 townships snuck in an ordinance that you couldn't have these outdoor wood-burning stoves.
Right.
And it's just a fill-in-the-blank thing. It comes from Agenda 21, which is international law. The president, through executive order, which is not law, gave these agencies these rules that they could do. And they just have these fill-in-the-blank little forms.
Yep.
For the cities, it's the Michigan Municipal League for Cities, Michigan Township Association for Townships, and NEMCOG, and WCOG, right, government associations, non-government associations.
Yeah,
and organizations. And they're taking our tax dollars in the form of dues. It's money laundering. They take our tax dollars in the form of dues, then they make some stupid freaking park in your town, and then you have to pay the taxes, the extra taxes, to get the revenue, and the people to pay for the mow and whatnot in your park. Oh, it's just this big game. All that stupid crap over in Petoskey and that stuff they want to do in Gaylord, I mean, it's just nuts. But Sheboygan's scared of us. They're not trying to pass much nothing because we go and tear them up. But now Presque Hill, I'm waking them up over this wood stove thing because the county wrote an ordinance.
Yeah.
And I kept asking them, where's the Michigan, I could say, where's the Michigan compiled law that says you could do this? Where is it? They couldn't show me the law that said they could do it. There's law that says it's illegal. Right. So what they showed me was the Enabling Act, which is unconstitutional, looks just like the freaking Soviet Constitution in 1977.
Right.
Saying that means they have these rights for these little pretty hamlets and villages.
Yep. Sustainable.
But we fight them, you know.
They talk about, they don't want sustainable individuals, they want sustainable communities because they control the community.
Yes. They want to control the community. They want you to have no right. Sustainable, and you aren't allowed to have a dandelion in your yard. A dandelion's a superfood. Sustainable, you can't have a backyard garden? Huh? You can't have chickens?
I read last week or the week before a story coming out of Arizona where a guy was arrested for not mowing his damn lawn. They arrested his ass and put him in jail for the night.
Yes. We have that here in Michigan. Did you know we have that here in Michigan?
No, I did not.
We officially have it. We have it under this radar because people have been getting misdemeanors for barking dogs and things like that all over the place, even in Sheboygan County for a while.
Right.
The ordinance guy writes it, and you get the ticket, and you just kind of ignore it, and then it becomes a misdemeanor. Just believe me. After enough of them, it's really funny. There's a guy up here that's 29. Yeah. So, but now in bigger cities, and it's Public Act, I'd like to, don't get me on the Public Act, but it was, I think, Public Act 35 of 2013. And when they did this Public Act, they gave it for the larger cities, anybody with over 250,000 people, things like that. So Detroit, Warren, Pontiac, those big rapids, or Grand Rapids, you know. Anyway, gave these cities, right, gave them the right to put you in jail for blight, which goes back to that trash can. If your trash can's out at the wrong time, if you have a bin on your front porch, if you have a car that's not running in your yard, if you, whatever.
That unlicensed cars or unregistered cars, you know, but basically cars without licensing.
Right.
Proper insurance. They want a car in your yard to have insurance whether you're driving it or not. They're doing that in this time, trying to get people to pay insurance on a car that they may only drive once every 3 years because it's a special car, you know, and they only take it out once in a while and they
But Lansing
at that time.
But Lansing gave them the right to put you in jail for it now.
Yep. Well,
you got if you get one warning, you get one warning, and it's not really warning. You get one talking to. After that's over with, you get your next time is a $500 fine. Your second time, or if you don't pay that fine, it's up to 93 days and up to $500. And then the third, you know, the next time it's up to a year or up to $1,000. I think I'm right. You have to look it up. My representative loved it.
Right.
I asked him why he voted for it, and he says, well, don't worry, it doesn't affect us. I said, what? He goes, well, it doesn't affect us up here. I said, yeah. And then if you look up a story on Tawas, a lady went to jail for blight in Tawas City.
For what?
Because she had chickens. They called her Chicken Blight. A soccer mom, total preppy soccer mom, went to jail for blight because she had chickens.
They call it chicken blight.
So I called Pete Battaglia. I said, excuse me. Right. I called him. I said, what the hell? What is going on here? I said, you said this wouldn't affect us up here, and these people are doing it. They're using it for your pre-sentencing report. You get a misdemeanor possession. Well, you get the strongest sentencing because you have a PSI because you have barking dogs.
Right.
Or your trash can, or car in your yard, or not mowing your lawn.
Yep.
You now have a record. You now have paper. You now have, you're bad citizen.
Yep.
Now, what do they always say when they arrest these people, these kids? Oh, this black kid, he did this, and look at his rap sheet. I call bullshit every time. Show me his rap sheet. Show me all the crimes that have victims, and then I'll say he was a bad kid.
Right.
Show me. Show me where he actually did it, and he didn't just get talked into pleading guilty by the public offender. Tell me that. Then I'll agree with your rap sheet bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just getting to the point of past insane, and it's just amazing that more people don't want to acknowledge it. It's right in front of their face, but that's that cognitive dissonance. Oh no, if the government did that, they'd tell us, and if they did, they'd tell us on TV.
Right. Because the government's so good.
They'd let us know. Our government wouldn't do that. Yeah, they would. All governments would. That's why every government but 5 countries in this world are in debt to Pluto, I guess.
Right.
I think Pluto sued the Earth, the planet, and it took a little political offense, a little political correctness offense with that, and must have sued us, and we must have lost the suit. Because I don't know who the hell every country owes money to. This is where I was getting to with the money thing. It's all fake. They say we owe $18 trillion unfunded liabilities as high as 200 or 500, depending on which economy guy you want to talk to. They say we owe this money to China. But yeah, China owes money
to Germany.
Owes money
and
to
Germany.
Germany owes money to England.
Japan's never paid us off for the war.
Yep.
We bombed them and then we rebuilt them.
Yep.
And they never paid us back.
Yeah, I mean, I can't.
It's just money laundering.
It's
money laundering.
I don't blame them, but yeah, it is. Well, it's not even that because we
basically, boys. Hold on.
Jim,
we can cut this whole thing short. Basically, boys and girls, you've lived in the twilight zone for a long time. Wake up and take it back. Refuse to comply. Don't get Obamacare. Don't pay the fine. Stop. Go file 99 dependents, but hold your money back in a reserve account so that you don't pay taxes. Right in everything. Make them hurt. Make them only get it on the 15th of April. And then if they don't get better, then never give it to them again. Don't get permission slips to drive. Don't get permission slips for your car to drive. Don't get permission slips to hunt a deer. Don't get permission slips to dig to kingfish.
Go fishing, right. Yeah, I mean, the whole driving thing, the act of getting a driver's license, or license, because you're lying to your own senses, is because it's the act of doing commercial business on the public roadways. Now, people, when you drive to work, are you making money when you're on the road driving to work? No. You're not making money. You're not carrying a fare. You're not ferrying.
You only have to do it right. Ferrying goods or fare.
Right. You're not getting paid to deliver merchandise or people for like a taxi cab. And that's where the professional driving idea comes. I mean, drivers were originally cattle people. They drove the cattle train. Those are your professional. They were paid to drive the cattle. And then drivers became steam engine operators in the factories where the steam engine was mounted on the floor in the factory. The guy who ran the steam engine was the company driver. That was back when everything was still horse and buggy. And then we got the carriages.
Right. I'm going to let you go because I got to go find something to eat. I am not eating.
Right on.
So I'm going to let you go, and I'll see you tomorrow, and I'll call in with you tomorrow. And I do think you should do the person-to-person interview. Because if you're hearing me fine, right on.
Try. Yeah, I should be able to be all right down there. I think I'll give it a try as long as I can get internet service for the pad to get online and control everything.
And after the cup, if you don't get inside the cup, there's still the thing at Clio Cultivators. They'll have another band and all that good stuff.
Right. Yep.
So, right on. That way everybody knows. Right on.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are down to Cannabis Cup down there tonight. So.
Oh, yeah. Right here where we are.
Excellent.
Right.
Well, you have a good night. Take care. Get something to eat. Feel good. And I'll probably see you tomorrow, Dana.
Right on. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye. All right. So we're down to about 10 minutes here, 12 minutes. Nice long discussion about a lot of different avenues there. I know a lot of you people are going to go, these two are nuts. They're crazy conspiracy theory silliness. Go do your homework, ladies and gentlemen. Go look at Iran-Contra papers. Go read the Iran-Contra papers. Go read the Church Commission papers from the middle 70s about the CIA, where they were admitting they had a gun that shot ice darts and would give you a heart attack, and there'd be no proof that you had anything but a natural heart attack in 1977 in a church committee. These are conspiracies, yes. Theories, okay. I can buy some theories because not a lot of this is fundamentally proven, but the documents are out there. Just because it's never been through a court case don't mean it's, black ain't black. But let me give you an idea of a conspiracy theory. I mean, the whole thing was, pushed big time as, a propaganda term, a derogatory term to talk to people who were talking about President Nixon doing something bad called Watergate, and that's just crazy. The president would never do that. When it was the president's staff that started calling these people, saying that he was, doing these things, recording conversations secretly and all this stuff, that it was a conspiracy theory. Well, go see a detective. Any state cop, any city cop, any sheriff, you go find a detective, and you look at what that guy does, and he is investigating conspiracies using theories to go to court. So you call it conspiracy theory all you want. I'll accept that. But if you think it's derogatory, you're the fool. This evidence is out there. I've seen it all. I've read it all. I don't want you to believe me like I told Dana earlier. I want you to get so pissed at me that I must be crazy. I want to piss you off. Because when you just, write me off as, you're just a conspiracy theory, you forget about it. When I piss people off to the point that they're ready to kick my ass, they usually want to prove me wrong. And I haven't had too many people ever come back online or in person, really, in this situation and say, wow, you were so wrong. Usually the comment was, boy, I never would have believed it if I hadn't went and looked myself. They didn't believe it until they did go look themselves. And that didn't happen until their cognitive dissonance was faced, and they were left feeling that what I was saying felt right, it looked right, but boy, our government, these things just cannot be happening, even though I kind of see them, but I just ignore them because they're just coincidences, happenstances. There's no correlation between those. Just because vaccines and vaccination rates are now given 45 to a child before they're 2, and autism rate's 1 in 48 now instead of 1 in 88 like it was 20 years ago. That's just coincidence. There's no correlation, even though the evidence is out there. We've got a damn vaccine court, a secret vaccine court that's paid out hundreds of billions of dollars since it was formed in 1986, so people couldn't sue the vaccine manufacturers in public court. Call me all the crazy names you want, flapping lips. I particularly like that one. Thanks again, Rick. You're going to so hate saying that, and I'm going to so drive it in there. So, yeah, this stuff sounds crazy, but correlation and happenstance isn't always just coincidence. Usually it's called planning. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, one of the Democrats' biggest favorite, recent presidents, the last 100 years. FDR, he did so much for us. A little quote from FDR. You can be assured of one thing. If it happens in politics, it was planned and there was no accident that made it happen. So in the political world, if it comes to be, it was planned to be long before it got there. Long before it got there. Sometimes decades. Sometimes 100 years or longer. Sounds crazy, I know. But the Federal Reserve Act was passed in 1912. And we're 2015, 105 years later. How much debt do we have? Do you think what? Do you think we're $9 trillion in debt in 1909? Oh, hell no, this country had more money than any other country on the earth because we had more resources that we were utilizing. We have more people making products who are allowed to make products without government interference. Sorry, petition control. Our free market's been perverted. What people today call capitalism is not capitalism. This system was not made to be like it is today because a capitalist, those are corporatists, usually imperialist, a lot of times ran by monarchists. Because when you really dig into the fact, the Federal Reserve is nothing more than an arm of the Bank of England. And that goes right back to British East India Trade Company, and that's not the entire name. It was originally called British East India Trade Company and Holdings. B-E-I-T-C-H. Bitch. So when they said the bitch is back and that term came around, it wasn't Elton John who invented that term. That term's been around since the 1800s and before. Because when they said the bitch is back in the 18 and 1700s, that meant British East India Trade Company and Holdings was coming back to do business. I know but no means to judge the future by looking at the past. Saying that last night, Dana will scream that in your ear 100 times a day. And it's absolutely right. I believe it was Thomas Paine. I may be incorrect about that, and I'll hear about it, I'm sure. I have no means to judge the future than by the past. And all we got to do is look at just the past 6 years and how our servants in the thing we call Lansing, D.C., have upheld the will of the people. How anybody can think they deserve anything. I don't care if you're a Republican, a Democrat, an Independent, a Tea Party. How about trying to be a damn Michigander or an American for once? Be a man, be a woman, be a parent. Put all your little tags on your dumbasses. Let me be a Republican because, oh, they're the ones that are the head side of the coin. I need to be a Democrat because they're for the little guy. Yeah, the little guy remaining a slave and under the control of the government, and they're the tail side of the coin. Flip that coin 1,000 times. Tell me how many times it lands on edge. That's how many times you're going to win out of that coin flip. Now, contrary to what Dana and other people say, I understand the vote's the Democratic vote. But, you know, I kind of like having the ability to put up a ballot petition and give you the idea if you want to vote on it. Because in today's day and age, there ain't nobody in the government that represents you unless you're a brother-in-law, a friend, a business partner, a political campaign donor. If you're not one of those, and your kids are just part of the chattel. That's why in Michigan they've got almost $8,000 debt on their ass before the umbilical cord is cut. Now, if we owe $74 billion in the state and we're $18 trillion in the nation, how much of that $18 trillion is theirs? Especially if it's $200 trillion, $100 trillion, $200 trillion or more, that's actually back there. So yeah, man, how do we handle this? You can legalize recreational marijuana, give it to the government, give the government, this little D.C. in Lansing, it's control over your endocannabinoid system. Take that baby step. It's the last one you're going to take. You think this is going to just baby step out? Are you foolish? The government don't do baby steps unless it's for you. You get the baby steps. They get the leaps and bounds. And you get to pay the bill. Ain't no different in the Lansing government. It ain't no different in the county governments and the city governments. It's been like this my whole life. It just took most of my life to really see it. I've seen it for a long time. But I was in some cognitive dissonance. And then I was in, the father dissidents and the family dissidents, and golly, I just got to make this right because, I got to do better for my kid. And then I come to realization, putting her deeper in debt into this, tyranny is the stupidest thing I could ever be doing. So yeah, you can be a slave or you can be a free person. We're all slaves under the federal. Care how you slice it. That money comes off the printing press and we owe for it more than it's even worth. So, Federal Reserve note going to crash and not become the world reserve currency? Hoorah! Yippee-ki-yay! As long as we can grow our food, grow our plants for oil and our herbs for medicine, we won't need to worry about the Federal Reserve dollar. Well, we got 20 seconds left. It's been kind of an on-off hit, miss, hit it here, hit go there every night. It's a Friday night, nice relaxing night. I'm going to try to call in tomorrow night and hold the show from down at the Cannabis Cup. Do live interviews like Dana said. So with any luck, tune in tomorrow night and we'll see you station on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Thanks a lot and have a good evening, Michigan.